Hi there, this is Jennifer Vanderbeek from scrapsoflife.com, and in today's video I'm going to show you how I made this altered book with a honeycomb diamond pop-up center. I am using this old book I picked up specifically for altering. It cost me about 50 cents, and it's called The Story of the Gems, so it's very appropriate for today's project. And even though the cover, specifically the outside spine, is a bit tatty, the overall book is in very good condition. It's sewn binding, so the pages aren't going to come unglued and fall out. It's an ideal candidate for altering. I am using binder clips to keep my page blocks more or less in place while I work. And I've kind of eyeballed the center of the book. I don't really need it to be dead center. An approximation is close enough. Now for this book, my idea was to create a diamond honeycomb pop out in the center. And so I am drawing a pattern for myself on some cardstock. And I just roughly sketched it out. And now I'm going to use a T-square to firm up some of my lines just so they're a little bit more precise and relatively straight. I'll cut out my pattern and then trace it onto the facing pages of the center of my book. Now this next part is a little bit tedious. It requires using a craft knife to carve out the niche or the pages. Now, normally when I'm doing an altered book niche, I'm removing the items that I'm cutting. In this case, I'm leaving them attached at the spine. I normally wouldn't put a niche right in the center of the book either. I'd put it in the center of a page, not crossing the spine for reasons. But for this technique, leaving the pages intact is the idea. So now to create the honeycomb pattern, it's a very simple glue pattern. You're basically alternating your strips of glue. So I'm just using a glue stick and I've created my little template or guide for the gluing, alternating pages. I'm doing, alternating stripes. The glue is about 1 inch apart when all said and done. So each section is two inches apart. And I glued one half, marked the center for where it fell in the pattern, glued the other half, and let it sit to dry. Now for the moment of truth. Did it work? Well, and the answer is kinda. As you can see, as I'm kind of prying the book apart, you could see that some of the pages are creating that honeycomb effect and others not so much. So there were some gluing errors and there was also some technical errors on my part. There's a few reasons why I think this happened and ways I could have avoided it or worked with it. If I were doing more of an altered book sculpture where the book was going to be fixed, the idea wasn't to open and close it to do the reveal, then I probably could have worked with this the way it was and just did some little tweaks. But that wasn't the idea, and so here's what I think happened and why this didn't work exactly as planned. And if I were to do this again, the things that I would change. So first off, the paper might have been a little bit too thick. Honeycomb decorations are usually made with tissue paper. The reason for this is tissue paper is lightweight. It works very well for things where they have to fold out and not take up a lot of space. So that's one thing to consider, is that the paper in a book like this might have been a little bit too thick. The second thing is the glue might have been too weak. I was using a glue stick. I think if I were to do this again and I wanted to use the book pages specifically, I would have used a double-sided adhesive like Imagine's Tear It tape to add a little bit more strength, and it might have actually worked. Finally, too much friction, I think, is the ultimate problem here. When I cut the niche out, I did not add a gutter. I didn't carve it out extra deep. So as you could see, when I opened the book, the cut sections were pulling against each other, and that's going to work against the honeycomb. So I had figured this out while I was letting it dry, and I'm like, okay, I need a plan B in case this doesn't work. And I could have left that out and pretended that this is what I had intended to do all the while, but that's not me. So I tore out the center section, the failed honeycomb attempt, and now I am gluing the cut niche to kind of reinforce the shape. And I created a traditional honeycomb decoration with gold tissue paper, and that will work a lot better in the center of the book. Now it's time to decorate. I decided I wanted a gilded edge, so I am using Faber-Castell gelatos. It's a very soft crayon-y material, so I rubbed those on the edges of the pages and then used a stiff bristle brush to work that in, even it out, and get rid of any excess. I added a bookmark to kind of mark the center of the book. And then I also used the gelatos again to tint the pages. As you can see, it's not an opaque thing. And while I did use water to activate it and blend it, I could have left it full strength and manipulated it with a sponge. I was very careful, however, when I spritzed the water over the gelatos to make sure I wasn't getting them on the tissue paper diamond because, well, that would have been unfortunate. I'm not going to spend a whole bunch of time on the cover because it's not the focus of this project. I am going to do a simple cover. I am, because the binding itself, the exterior binding is a little rough. I'm making sure to cover that rather than to just, fold over the book cloth. But other than that, this is just like making any other book cover that you might have done, with your textbooks in high school or something. Only I'm adhering it to the cover. Going back to my early altered book roots, I love to use puffy paint. I love puffy paint. It's just so much fun. And so I have some gold puffy paint that I had put around the edges of the niche and kind of created a faux drippy pattern. And then I am finishing it off with a quote. Now, what I had originally thought, this is vaguely Valentine's themed. Valentine's is kind of one of those proposal holidays. So if you've got a proposal coming up and you want to present the ring in an interesting way, this could be a way to do it. You can nestle the ring inside of the honeycomb diamond. Since obviously I don't have that purpose, I wanted to decorate the book in a way that just highlighted the diamond shape. And so I found this quote by John Green. It goes, "Life tries to crush her, but only succeeded in making a diamond." And I thought that was kind of an interesting quote. I'm just using a white gel pen to put that on the page. I did have to go over a couple of times just because the book page plus the gelato, it did kind of make it a little bit soft. So it needed some extra help. I added some decorative paper and ribbon and a faux wax seal to the front of the book to kind of dress it up a little bit, and the book is finished. Creating this book was a bit of a learning experience. I tried something, it didn't work, and that's okay. And that's why I left it in the video so that you could see, sometimes you have to have a plan B, sometimes you just have to roll with it. But in the end, the result is still cool. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. I'm always interested in hearing what projects you've got going on, so please leave comments down below if you'd like. This has been part of StashCraft19, so make sure to check out the other videos linked here to find out what StashCraft19 is and see some of the other projects that we have done as part of the challenge. And as always, I hope you have a very creative week. See you next time.